As promised, here is a video on my methods of implementing fly control on my farm. And this is also how I teach these things to my vet tech students in their large animal course. And I refer to these concepts as multimodal vector control, meaning I break these methods up into 4 categories. The categories are assigned by similarities in the way all of these things function. And my hope is that if you use one method from each category combined, you'll have a good fly control program on your farm. And the 4 categories are property hygiene, trapping and deterrence, individual applications, and herd planning. In the property hygiene category, we are thinking about things like manure management, so promptly cleaning up manure and composting it or spreading it to dry it out quickly. Pasture rotation, so minimizing erosion and wear and tear on your property in order to avoid forming dry areas that get muddy or create standing water. And fly predators, which are something you can apply to your property that will hunt and consume fly larvae before they hatch. In the trapping and deterrence category, we have things like those bag-style ranch traps, box traps, which you can see installed in cattle pastures usually, and things like directing airflow or increasing airflow. So putting lots of running fans in barns to keep the air moving in the barn, or things like rotating a calf hutch so that it catches the maximum amount of wind. And then we have the category of individual applications. These are things like fly spray, fly ointment, fly repellent ear tags, feed through things like Clarifly, which is a mineral that you can feed, and it helps reduce the amount of flies that are attracted to the output manure, Catron 4, and garlic. Now, this is usually where I see people making errors, because when they hear multimodal fly control, they know that they have to pick multiple methods, and usually they'll pick multiple methods within this category instead of a method from here, a method from here, a method from here, and a method from here. So instead, they'll basically use a bunch of the things that work in the same way. So these are all things that apply to the individual animal without addressing the property itself or the fly's life cycle itself. Now, just to review some of the methods within this category, we have things like fly ointments. These are good for places you can't safely spray, like potentially the area on the face, for example. And then we have, I want to point out Catron 4 right here. This is an aerosol spray. This is one of the only products on the market that's safe to put on an open wound or raw lacerated skin. So if you have a surgical site that needs to heal by second intention or some sort of wound and you don't want maggots being attracted to it, this is really the only safe option that you can actually put on the open tissue. You can also spray around or apply ointment around a wound or a surgical site, but if you wanted to apply something directly into a gaping wound, Catron 4 is where it's at. Now, our last category here is herd planning. So this is just a simple concept of trying to plan what you've got going on your farm so that any elective procedures like disbudding or castration or tail docking, those things are done, healed, and resolved by April or maybe even May. And I'm kind of referring to the Northeast region here. So tweak that as you will for your region. The other thing is I like to make sure stressful reproduction type things are kind of done and resolved by April or May. So I like to make sure my weaning is done by May. I like to make sure my girls are drying off and not lactating anymore by April and May. That way there's no teat swelling or anything happening in their bag that might be attracting flies. So yeah, that's it in a nutshell. So if you're curious as to what I'm doing, I'm really amping up my game this year. So this year, I'm managing manure, rotating pasture, and using fly predators. But I'll also be using box traps, manipulating airflow, using fly spray and garlic. And I have all of my procedures and life stages planned to be resolved by the first week of May. So this is a little bit different than what I've done in the past. I haven't done as much herd planning in the past. I've relied more heavily on individual applications. And also new to me this year is the idea of fly predators and the idea of garlic.